talk about the question I get most often from people who are not my clients and find out that I'm sober. And that is, how do you make connection? How do you find friends as a sober person? And I understand a lot of people are worried because their social lives revolve around drinking. And if you don't want to drink, you don't always feel like hanging out at bars. So there's always that obvious answer that everyone gives you. Go to local AA meetings and you'll meet all the friends that you need. And it doesn't always work that way. I hear from a lot of women who went to some sort of local meeting, AA or not, and they didn't feel a connection, and then they gave up. And the good news is that these days there are plenty of other meetings that you may not know about. So Google it. It sounds obvious. Look at meetups. Check Facebook, search it on Facebook. There are so many other options. But the way that I met the most sober people locally, which was a shock to me and you may not think about, is joining an online community. I joined an online community during the pandemic that, while it's based in the US, it is worldwide and it is not based anywhere near my state. And I was shocked that when I would get on these meetings, sometimes there were 400 people. You can either turn on your camera or not. And the facilitator would oftentimes say, listen, if you feel comfortable, just type in the chat where you're from. And anyone that was from my state, I would actually write down their name and I would reach out to them privately and say, hey, I'm happy to drive out to your town if you'd be willing to meet me for coffee. I'd love to meet you. And it worked. And that's how I met the most friends. And I would just plan something really short. I don't like group events, so it would just be one-on-one. And, a coffee, it might be 45 minutes. It's really not a big deal. The second way that I make friends, people make fun of me, but I do things that I enjoy and then I introduce myself to strangers. For example, I love walking at the beach at 5 a.m. And while those people may not be sober, they're probably not really hungover if they're walking their dogs at 5 a.m. And I will just start with a compliment. Who doesn't love a compliment? I'm not fake, but there's always something nice that you can say. And it's usually, your dog is so cute. What's your dog's name? I'm Jackie, by the way. And that's how I also met a lot of sober people. So listen, if you want to make great connections in sobriety, you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. But let's be honest, quitting drinking is the most uncomfortable thing I've ever done in my entire life. So if you can do that, giving a stranger a compliment by inviting them to coffee or introducing yourself is nothing. And people are always flattered, whether they say they want to get together or not. But this is how I met most of my friends. If you have any questions, just give me a call.